2109 South Arlington Road. I'm here to talk to you all about the Northeast Ohio Sustainable Communities Consortium. How many of you have heard of this entity? Okay. Any of you? Okay. All right. The group that I'm affiliated with is called Ohio Citizens for Property Rights. I'm the Summit County representative for this organization. My friend Dave is the Medina County representative. We started following NEOSCC a couple years ago when they started their visioning sessions and planning sessions. And it became pretty obvious right away that the goal was to create a regional entity. So the visioning and planning sessions that they put on were somewhat disturbing in that the way that they skewed the data collection process. I'm going to fast forward you to that in the presentation. Well, first, a couple things about NEOSCC. They're the brainchild of the EPA, HUD, and the DOT. They were created as a result of a $4.25 million grant that was given to HUD. HUD turned around, designated NEOSCC as the recipient of that grant. That's the Northeast Ohio Area-Wide Coordinating Agency. That's the metropolitan planning organization that covers Cleveland, Medina, Lake, Geauga, and Lorain counties, I believe. So they pulled in AMATS, who's our MPO. They pulled in Eastgate, and then they pulled in SCATS. So we have the 4 MPOs. They in turn created NEOSCC. So we have once again removed from public accountability. We have these appointed people that are like basically the result of those 4 entities getting together and deciding who's going to be on NEOSCC. I believe there's 3 elected officials on the NEOSCC board. The rest are appointed individuals, so therefore they're untouchable by the voters. They're unaccountable for any decision that they make. Basically what they've done, they've created entities like this all over, and by they I mean the government has given grants to all these different organizations here.
It just so happens that I printed out all the slides. So
okay, well hand them off to me.
Yeah.
So these organizations here were all funded with federal government money, some of them to the tune of several $1 million to do these types of visioning and planning sessions. They turned around, and in their creation of NEOSCC, several entities also were included in the creation of NEOSCC that aren't government officials or government entities. We have the Fund for Our Economic Future, we have the Catholic Charities Diocese of Youngstown, we have the Cleveland Museum of Natural History. The Cleveland Museum of Natural History, I believe they just took like 20,000 acres up in Geauga County about 6 months ago and turned it into conservation land. So the threats to Portage County are not only in the form of taxation that's probably going to be excessively high through one of the provisions in this plan called the Land Value Tax, but also the creation of conservation easements, conservation districts, bike paths. The bike path issue is going to become huge for you, and that it's my understanding AMATS has in their plans a plan to connect ultimately Kent State to Waynefoot Lake. And I'm sorry, but how many properties will they have to take through eminent domain to make that happen, and where will they be? So obviously this issue came on our radar because it's all about property rights and local control. You know, this appointed entity that was created stands to basically usurp your local control. The zoning overlays, the planned unit overlays, your zoning administration and zoning board will become irrelevant in this process. They will supersede your local control in a big way. Okay, this is right out of the guidebook. I'll show you the guidebook.
I just handed him copies of the
So here's one of the publications that we picked up at the board meeting in February. It's the guidebook, and this right here is a page out of the guidebook. It's also on the back of the handout that you guys were given, so you know what I'm talking about. Right here, they talk about targets and indicators. The very first indicator is development location, And the target says at least 81% of new housing development and 91% of new jobs should be located within urbanized and urbanizing areas. NEOSCC's definition of an urbanized and urbanizing area is a sewered area. I'm in a jet area. I own a business on South Arlington Street. I'm in Coventry, so my business is on the west side of Arlington. I was absorbed into the Coventry Akron jet, so I already pay income tax to the city of Akron even though I'm not there. And under this, just by virtue of their definition on development location, there will be no further expansion of the sewers into the township beyond the current boundaries. They have established what they call an urban growth boundary by extending the sewers to where they are and then stopping. You know, part of that jet agreement was that they would continue to extend those sewers, that the access to them would be available, but under this, that won't happen. Out here, I'm not sure how much of your county is sewer. I know not very much. But you get down further on this page, they talk about the clean water objectives. All drinking water sources will be assessed by 2020. So water quality standards have to be met by 2020. If you have a water well and it doesn't meet their standards, you might not be able to have your water well. Your dwelling will then become untenable. Same thing with the septic. If you can't get your lot and soil approved to support a septic, sorry, and they're not gonna bring sewer. So this plan will be very bad for Portage County. Dave had said earlier that, before the meeting started, someone were talking, and he talked about the grants that would be used to try to entice you into going along with this plan, but basically, you have to ask yourself, would those grants be worth surrendering the rights of the citizens of your township and ultimately all of Portage County by agreeing to go along with this plan? Okay, for every new vehicle lane mile built, there will be at least the same number of bicycle lane miles built. At least 10 times the linear miles of sidewalks built or repaired in the region. So, you build a road, you have to put a bike lane in with it, you have to sidewalk it, and you also have to build or repair that, after that original road, 9 more times the linear miles of sidewalks in the region. Now, the region is 12 counties. They might take your money and pump it into downtown Akron, pump it into Cleveland. So, by 2040, at least 65% of jobs and at least 50% of residents should be near transit. We know that 224 is marked as a transit corridor between Youngstown and Akron. So, near as I can tell by their own maps within this guidebook, and I'm going to show you this since the lighting is bad on the PowerPoint. That's all right. I don't think he has.
The lighting isn't bad, it just sounds
Okay.
nice.
Well, here's the transit corridors within their own guidebook. So you have transit corridors. They want to put in light rail. They want to put in, commuter rail. It's kind of interesting. A similar plan that they're trying to put in play in Atlanta. The people are all upset that they don't want the rail. They want the transit. And some weird alliances have happened down there between groups that normally wouldn't commingle, like the Sierra Club and the NAACP, and it's just really kind of bizarre what's going on down there. But so if you look at this, this area here indicates, or this map indicates the areas that money will be invested in, or that money may be invested in the future, because the yellow is sewered areas. So anything outside the sewer areas is deemed cost risk. Look at your county, look at your township. It's considered cost risk. Geauga County is in real bad shape in the way, so are the others. They've already passed a resolution in Lordstown saying, no, we don't want this here. There's already been one passed in the Summit County Township Association, no, we don't want this. The Northeast Ohio Township Association. I've included copies of all
I'm the
these
president of the
resolutions.
Portage County Township Association, so we can talk about this at our meeting as well.
Okay, and I included,
Yeah, that would be a good
That would be
place
a
for you
good
guys
place
to
for you to
talk.
come.
okay,
Yeah.
but I included copies of the resolutions I mentioned in the packet that I gave Dave. Okay, so you can see those
Can
for
I just
yourself.
read what Lucy Miller said?
Yeah, go ahead and read, this is
Okay,
bad.
I'm not sure what
Go.
our sequence of
Go
talking
ahead,
here.
just let them have it.
The
It's important
NEOSCC
to
was funded by HUD, DOT, and EPA, okay, for 3 years. That's the $4.25 million that Peggy was talking about. That 3-year funding was up at the end of last year. However, NEOSCC said, we're not done yet. We want another 3 years. So they got significant funding from a number of non-government organizations. And they have a minder. It's a lady from HUD named Lucy Miller. And Lucy, at this meeting in April that we went to, where they said, we're gonna keep on going another 3 years, whether you like it or not. Here's what Lucy said. I have her video here. Unfortunately, you're never gonna see it. But I did print it out because I didn't know about the volume on my computer that I didn't bring. Okay. So Lucy says, good afternoon, this is a quote. Congratulations to all of you. This has been a long process and a lot of work. I think the most important thing I can say is how important it is that we continue to collaborate and work together, and I put it in red, and take control at the local level. Okay? That's what she meant, and that's what she said. That's what HUD wants to do. So reinforcing what Peggy is saying, that, yeah, they want to do regionalism, but they also want to take control at the local level. I mean, she said it. Then, when we were in the back of the room, and a number of us went like, oh, whatever. And then she tried to qualify it, and she got flustered for a moment and tried to say, well, we're all in this together, we're not gonna tell you what to do. But this is what they came up with. Now, remember, they hadn't taken the vote on continuing for 3 years until this board meeting, but they presented this. This is already done. This is their plan for you all and me all, okay? And this was already predetermined. And they also have 165 so-called pilot programs. That if we ever put all those programs into place, it's what this is. And they're taking away local control. It may take a while, but it's a long-term goal, is to do away with local planning and come in with recommendations and pockets full of money that we talked about that will tempt you to go along with the strings that are attached.
Let me back us up to the visioning sessions that they put on. These were the things that we attended when we saw there was a problem. Now, this is so critical to the way that they presented their information, and I'll explain it to you. I wish it was on the PowerPoint so they could see it. Okay, when I walked into this particular visioning session, you signed, they gave you a questionnaire, they gave you these little stickers. They had these presentation boards spread out all the way around the room, so you had to make your way around. And this was at the end. This is where they wanted your input. So, okay, when I first looked at this board, the first thing, when I signed in, there was only a handful of people that had gone in ahead of me. And the first thing I noticed was the number of stickers on this board. Then I noticed that there's a picture of Avon. This event was held in downtown Akron at the Akron Urban League on August 2nd last year. So then I looked at their definition. It says outer ring suburbs. Their definition of an outer ring suburb established 1970 to present. And they're using a picture of the city of Avon. Now, I have relatives that live up that way. I know Avon's been there a lot longer than that. I did a search later on. This is their bicentennial, so they've been around a while. Okay. The whole plan of NEOSCC is based on investment in established communities. So who is making the determination of what is considered an established community is what's going to become critical, but in this, they obviously don't consider Avon to be an established community. So, all right, I'm looking at this thing. The green stickers indicate a yes answer. The red indicates probably not, which is softer than no. They like to play with these words. No is just too strong, so let's just say probably not. And they ask the question, do you use, value, and enjoy our outer ring suburbs? Look at all the stickers. Where did they come from? You know? Then they ask the question, should we as a region invest in our outer ring suburbs? Look at all the no stickers. I was appalled, and then I'm thinking, now here I am standing in Akron, looking at a picture of Avon, being asked this question. If there was a picture of Coventry or Springfield or Suffield there, I'd probably answer that different if I was going to answer it. But I thought some other people have already been answering this question. Then, see the binder clips? That's a separate piece of paper holding that on. Dave put on a forum in Independence 2 weeks after this meeting where Grace Gallucci, the woman who's the president of this organization, I showed her this picture. I asked her why all those stickers were there. And she said to me, Well, we were trying to save money, so we used the same boards at every presentation. I have their financial information here. They spent $30,000. If this is what their plan is based on, isn't this like a critical part of the plan and the process, okay? So that's why this is so critical, because if this is not authentic, if this is not legitimate, or, yeah, how can the plan be accurate? Because they keep saying the plan is what the people want. In this book here, they're quoted multiple times saying the people have decided the future. Have you guys been included in this process? You haven't decided your future then.
I can tell you that 1/2 of 1% of the 2 million people in the 12-county area took part in these forums. And it's probably about, I think we figured about 4,000 or 5,000 people out of 2 million. And those 4,000 or 5,000, by the way, 25% of them voted no on this. So it isn't even 4,000 or 5,000 that said yes, but that, say, 3,500 people are telling all of us we're going to live in the future. And that's our problem, is that such a small piece of the population has one hell of a lot of influence, and it was already predetermined. Can I just also throw something else?
Go ahead.
Because you're doing all the talking, and I can't have to do that. Okay.
This is a community service for you, isn't it?
This AMATS, which is the organization that you're under, they have plans for bicycle paths and sidewalks that you mentioned. But I think you need to know that the on-road bicycle plan, AMATS is going to spend $839,000, costs $8,000 a mile, okay? But that's not all. Multi-purpose trails, you're talking about trails. AMATS, $13,300. You know what it costs per mile for a multi-purpose trail? $1,300,000 a mile. Okay. Pedestrian recommendations are basically the sidewalks that Peggy was talking about. That's $686,000 a mile. And so they're talking about whenever you put in a highway, you are mandated to put in 10 miles of sidewalks, and you're mandated to put in bicycle paths. So this is the kind of money that's being projected to be spent by just AMATS. It's not all the other MPOs that are involved.
Let me tell Jenny's story real quick, and we'll wrap it up.
I'll pass that around.
This is the front door of a woman that lives down in Washington Township, Montgomery County, Ohio, down by Dayton. The township she lived in started an eminent domain proceeding to put a bike path through her front yard. It's a historic farm. It's an Austin farm. The guy was a Civil War colonel. Several generations of living in that house. They tried to get it designated a historic landmark. They couldn't do it. Across the street was an empty parcel. They decided to put this bike path right within 7 feet of the front door. That stake marks where they started staking it out the morning of this incident. So they started fighting the township against the eminent domain proceeding, and Jenny was at work one day. Her mother's in her 80s. She heard some noise outside. She goes outside to see what's going on. Here they're starting to mark out the turf. The work trucks are there unloading equipment. They're getting ready to start cutting trees down. The old woman, hey, what are you doing? You know, she got so upset she had a heart attack and died on the scene. So the case is still pending. It came out during this process that nobody in the township knew that this bike path was planned. They hadn't had any real public meetings on it or anything. I mean, that township is in a world of hurt right now over this. And Jenny, bless her heart, you know, it's not about the money for Jenny. It's about what they're doing to her. Violation of the property rights and what it did to her mother. So we're cautioning you about the property rights. We know you understand about property rights, and we know people, some people say, well, you don't have any anyway. But I'll tell you what we do have left, we need it to be protected, and that's what our elected officials are for. I told my trustees in Springfield, so I voted for you guys. I didn't vote for you to hand over your authority to an appointed entity. So they scrambled to help get that resolution together through the Township Association. All right, in this folder I gave you, this will be the end of it. I included the Summit County Township Association resolution, a copy of the Geauga County Commission resolution.
We need that.
And you have a copy, it's in there. There's the Lordstown resolution, and I'm gonna caution you on this resolution, a suggestion, I'm sorry. Our understanding is, AMATS is starting to look to adopt some of the initiatives of NEOSCC into their policy documents. So, the townships can reject it, they can reject it through the associations, but if we don't stop AMATS from incorporating these into the policy documents, it's gonna happen anyway. And you guys are in a lot of trouble here in the rural townships and rural counties with,
You wanna
what could
mention,
go on.
you guys familiar with NEOSCC?
yeah,
Okay, NEOSCC is in Northeast Ohio area-wide coordinating association, oh, that's right, they're not in NEOSCC.
No,
no, these guys are in AMATS,
Okay.
and that's why we included the AMATS. in
Yeah,
there.
right.
Okay.
NEOSCC is also starting to orient their policies to dovetail with this NEOSCC regulations.
Also in this
There's a lot
packet,
going on. I'm
this-
gonna leave all that, okay, thank you.
the meat right here is my presentation that I gave to NEOSCC at their board meeting to object to their plan. So pretty much everything I talked about and more is in there. I've approached Summit County Council. There's letters in here from Sagamore Hills Township trustees that have approached Summit County Council, an editorial to the Beacon. This is the handout that we've been handing out, so you can see what we've given people in the audience. And then the financial information is included, so that page, and then the page that shows what they've been spending their money on. I picked these up at their board meeting. So, there's enough information in this packet that you guys should be able to make an informed decision for yourselves and for the residents of your township.
has this gone to the commissioners, and presented it to the commissioners?
No, we haven't. I know there's a man named Mr. Peets that I was told about that.
Every time we get something from them, I will say to him, look at this, because I can see that when they're writing on the wall, when you get those
Yeah.
letters from them, and I'll say, look at this, it's coming. So I don't know if the commissioners know.
Todd?
A different thing, we get things from Tom, and I always say to Tom, look at this, it's coming.
I know Mr. Peets is the one that is leaning in this direction, so.
To go for that,
Yeah.
It's easy
Against
for
you or
cities,
against-
cities
they don't
have to be
understand.
sustainable, the only way they can be sustainable is make people live there.
yeah,
They
what is that
have to
again?
make you live
Yeah,
there.
they have.
We are not good for cities.
Well, you
This
know,
kind of government is bad for cities.
They made the implication
Yeah,
in the,
been trying for years to say that absorb everything.
in the board presentation, they made the insinuation, or in the planning process, I should say, they made the insinuation that the cities were failing because we've abandoned them to the suburbs. I was born and raised in the suburbs, okay? And they also, the Lorain County Township Association resolution, which I didn't include only because I didn't have a print copy of it. They were offended that, I have a press release copy. They were offended that they were insinuating they didn't know how to protect the environment within their county, because that's another angle that they take, you know? So, okay, I thank you very much for your time.
Thank
Okay.
you for coming. This
We
was very-
appreciate everybody coming, and we appreciate the presentation. Right now, we'd like to invite everybody who wants to hear more. You guys are welcome to go over and use the town hall.
Okay.
You guys can have a meaningful discussion and get all your questions answered. Okay?
Thank you.
And if you want to stay and enjoy our meeting, you're more than welcome to stay and enjoy our meeting.
You want a boring meeting, stick around.
Thank you very much.